Birdsong at Conover Cove subdivision. Located between the east end of Conover Cove Lane and Webster Road, applicant Grove Underhill LLC is requesting preliminary final subdivision and site plan approval, along with a public hearing associated with the creation of 9 lots for construction of 8 single-family residences and an associated stormwater management facility on a 5.55-acre parcel located in a R3 single-family residential district under sections 269-11, 296-20, and 350-12 of the Code of the Town of Webster.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Peter Bars from BME Associates, appearing tonight on behalf of Grove Underhill Properties, LLC. Also in attendance is Mitch Brodsky, the owner of Grove Underhill Properties, LLC. As mentioned, we're here this evening to continue and we hope complete the seeker review and the subdivision and site plan review for Birdsong at Conover Cove. It is a proposed single-family residential for-sale subdivision, proposing 8 single-family residential lots, plus an additional 9th parcel that would be a town parcel for the stormwater management area, all to be situated on 5.5 acres in a residential R3 zoning district. We've appeared before this board several times over the past several months. Back in August, at your August 6th planning board meeting, at that point in time, we presented to this board the revised plan where we disconnected, I'm going to say, the public street and from Conover Cove Lane with just an access out to Route 250, and we had addressed the planning board, town engineer, and PRC comments with the revised plan submission. It should also be noted with that, at that time, we also updated the seeker documentation providing the full EAF Part 1 as the board classified the action as a Type 1 action and subsequently declared their intent to be lead agency. Back in September, on September 18th, the planning board did declare themselves lead agency for the purposes seeker and initiated the coordinated review. On October 22nd, we provided you updated materials as a result of our appearances before the board in August and September. And it consisted of 3 primary things based on comments that had been received. First of all, we provided you information and a memo addressing that the project's conformance with the provisions of Town Code Section 296, which governs the subdivision of land within the town of Webster. We also provided you an updated plan set of the preliminary final subdivision and site plans that address the most recent comments from the town engineer MRB group and the PRC. It also included drawing number 12 in that set, where we did provide the results of the requested tree survey that this board asked, where we identified trees greater than 8 inches in diameter. We identified those trees in the area outside of the development footprint as discussed and directed by the board, acknowledging that the development area from the rear of the houses through the right-of-way to the rear of the houses across the street would be developed as part of the residential subdivision. We located basically the trees around the perimeter. Trees were primarily locust and poplar trees, and there were ash trees and several dead and diseased ash trees. What we did also do, though the property, we did confirm that the property is not part of an environmental protection overlay district or a woodlot protection overlay district. That was confirmed with town staff. And it is also to be clearly known that the R3 zoning district does not require any buffering provisions as it relates to adjoining properties. But with that being said, what we did do at what the applicant is proposing is we have modified the rear yard grading such that we're pulling it into the lots, as it is the developer's intent to save those trees greater than 8 inches in diameter around the perimeter of the property, primarily along the south and north property lines. And those have been identified on the grading plan that's within the drawing set. these trees will be saved and identified for saving during the construction process. In addition, we've identified a handful of other trees in what would be the future rear yard areas. The developer's intent is to keep those trees in place until the time of house construction, house design, giving basically the future homeowner the ability that if they choose a house design where that tree could be saved, it's there to be saved in lieu of just cutting the rear yards free of the trees to maximize the building lot. So that is something that they are willing to do. In addition, we did provide you a proposed landscape plan proposing an additional 20 trees along the east property line, the Route 250 frontage, creating a landscape buffer. It will supplement the existing maples that are along the Route 250 right-of-way. Also, additional trees and shrubs in the northwest corner around the west property line to demarcate this subdivision from the Conifer Cove Lane properties to the west. In addition to those two items, we also provided you information as it concerns to seeker. We provided you responses to the 18 questions that are contained in the Part 2 EAF that this board needs to review in order to make their seeker determination. The information we provided to you was based upon the design information presented in the preliminary and final site and subdivision plans you have before you. Information provided in the engineer's report that was submitted and prepared and submitted in support of the information in the EAF and as presented on the design plans. We also completed it as it relates to the information provided on the Part 1 EAF. Also from the EAF mapper from the DEC website, that gives us information on natural features, habitats, and natural resources. And also based on agency review comments we've received to date, the Monroe County Water Authority, the County Health Department, and the New York State Department of Transportation. In preparing that information, we also utilize guidance provided in the New York State DEC Environmental Assessment Form workbook, which is provided to provides guidance in order to assess potential impacts as it relates to those 18 questions. It has the thresholds to be reviewed so that you can make a determination to the potential significance of any impact. Based on the information we've provided to you, we believe it does support a determination that the project does not result in any potential significant impact. Any potential impacts are being addressed through the project design, such as the stormwater management plan, the construction erosion control plan, the traffic information provided to the state DOT, and along with consistency with the community's land use plan and character of the surrounding area, and its compliance with the comprehensive plan. Several comprehensive plans of the town of Webster has consistently identified this 5.5 acre parcel as designated for residential development, the R3 residential zoning that's proposed. The plan is prepared in compliance with that zoning criteria as it relates to lot size, lot width, setbacks. There are no variances or waivers from any of the lot standards being requested. So with that, we just wanted to give you that update on what we've have done since we were last here back in September, and we can answer any questions that the board may have on that information.
Okay, one thing I'm going to ask Josh, all these documents are on the website, are they?
I don't believe a lot of them are. The plans, the latest plan sets are on the website.
Okay. The BME, as the gentleman just stated, that they've addressed all the comments that were requested. There were 18 different comments that were requested, and there's a file. I'd suggest that this should probably be put on site, don't you think? So people can see it if they wanted to see it. But everything has been addressed. We've looked at it, read it, I've made notes on it and so on, and I don't know what more we could do with that. And the letter from the attorneys, Herder, Seacrest, and Emery, they took specific things, legal matters here, they addressed those on their letterhead too. So we have covered everything for these 8 homes on the site. I see nothing further that I see can be changed at this point, but it is a public hearing. If anyone wants to get up and speak, you're more than welcome to come up and speak. We're going to limit this to 3 minutes. 3 minutes. Last time we made it 5 minutes. There's no more need for 5 minutes, 3 minutes, and it will be no longer than 3 minutes. Okay? So if anyone wishes to speak, come on up.
Mr. Chairman, I submitted a letter. Did the board receive it? It was dated the 11th.
It was
I
submitted.
have a duplicate copy for the board, which would be helpful.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. I'll hand you a copy of the acceptance, Mr. Chairman. Here's a copy of the letter that we submitted yesterday regarding this matter. It does address many issues.
I saw that online.
Yeah, okay.
So what are we supposed to do with this thing now?
I would ask to hold off making decisions so you've had a chance to review that. And I'll go ahead and try to summarize the issues presented there. Oh, and I can provide, do you require contact information for the minutes?
Yes, you'll be required to state your name and address.
I will do that, but just in case you can't understand me at all or something.
If this was given yesterday, we haven't got it now.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, honorable board members. My name is Jacob Zoglin. I'm an attorney and partner at the Zoglin Group here in Rochester, and I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of the Webster Citizens for the Birdsong Trail area, in opposition to the site plan and subdivision applications for the Birdsong at Conifer Cove project. The project is proposed to be located on a heavily forested parcel containing extensive vegetation and mature trees that the Conservation Board recommended retaining. Significantly, the project is adjacent to town property and parkland that contains the Bird Sanctuary Trail in Mill Creek. I'm going to talk briefly about non-conforming uses and conditions. As a preliminary matter, site plan and subdivision approval cannot be granted because the town code does not allow issuing such approvals when doing so would create non-conforming uses or conditions. We see that in 296-10C and 296-19C. Here, the project would create non-conforming uses or conditions, and therefore variances are required for the following reasons. I'll highlight just a couple. One, the project would establish a new structure and use, i.e. the stormwater management facility, in an R3 district where such uses and structures are not permitted under the town code. That's 350-12A. Additionally, the code requires a minimum rear setback of 50 feet for all lots in the R3 district. But here, the proposed project cites the stormwater management facility less than 50 feet from the rear property line. Again, that's a variance issue. And the third variance that I want to talk about is because the code requires a minimum front yard setback of 50 feet on corner lots on major highways. That's Town Code 350-12B5A2. And here, the project proposes to create Lot 4 at the corner of Route 250, which is a major highway as defined by the Town Code, Section 350-3. But Lot 4 only provides a 40-foot front yard setback, which is 10 feet less than what is required. Accordingly, several variances would be required for this project, which I go into in more detail in my letter. Therefore, subdivision and site plan approval cannot be granted without conditioning such approvals on obtaining the required variances, and seeker has to involve a coordinated review with the zoning board and consider those cumulative impacts. I'll touch briefly on the seeker issues now because I know the chairman and the attorney were discussing seeker on the last application.
He's exceeded the 3-minute threshold, but I'll leave it up to the board if you'd like him to continue.
If it's okay with Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I think in this case, yeah, this is, go up, keep going.
Okay, and I'll keep it brief and on point to the seeker things. So because the project cannot proceed without these discretionary approvals that I discussed, the variances, the seeker review of the project has to involve this coordinated review. And that has to involve the interested and involved agencies before a determination of significance is made. That's why I was saying you have to coordinate with ZBA on these several variances that haven't been even requested at this point. And then you have to do the cumulative impacts review. Moreover, because the board already determined that it's a type 1 action, there's a legal presumption that it will require a POS-DEC and preparation of an EIS. So I'm not going to go over all the reasons why I think a POS-DEC is required, but I want to highlight some of the high points so I keep a good use of your time tonight. First, the project's impacts on plants and animals indicate that it will have serious adverse impacts on the environment. This concern is especially pronounced here and is compounded by the existing forested condition of the property and the fact that the property adjoins town parkland. Whenever you adjoin town parkland, you have to be concerned about the impacts that a project will have on the parkland. In this case, that also includes the bird sanctuary trail and Mill Creek. Town code, design guidelines, and the comprehensive plan uniformly emphasize environmental preservation, maintaining trees and vegetation and natural resources. It even talks about special protections for woodlots or EPODs, and all of these facts, which I go into in more detail in the letter, demonstrate a strong town policy in favor of preserving plants, animals, against adverse impacts from development. Second issue that I think is really important here is the degradation of aesthetic resources from the project. The fact that the project adjoins this parkland raises serious concerns because the project would significantly change the character of those aesthetic resources by eliminating the buffer and natural screening between the natural resources and the road, homes, and residential features associated with the project. By removing so much of the vegetation and trees that form a core part of the character and aesthetics of this area. The BME report actually admits that if approved, it says, quote, the project site may be viewed through both routine day-to-day traffic and recreational uses of the Birdsong Sanctuary Trail. You don't want to be seeing developments when you're in the middle of parkland or on a trail, and that's why preservation of those aesthetic resources is so important, and indeed is articulated in seeker, in town code, in comprehensive plan, as things that need to be preserved. And I want to just, one more thing I want to hit on real quickly is the water quality issues, right? So the close proximity of the project to Mill Creek, which drains into Lake Ontario, combined with the known presence of contaminated soils nearby, and the admission that there was a perched water table within 3 feet of existing or proposed grade, indicates that the lead agency should take a hard look at whether the project may impact those water resources. When this project is reviewed cumulatively as a whole under seeker, it becomes clear that it will create non-conforming property conditions and non-conforming uses and significant adverse environmental impacts that have not been considered and mitigated to the maximum extent practicable. These facts warrant, as the board has already observed, doing coordinated review, but it also warrants issuing a positive declaration of environmental significance and requiring preparation of an EIS. For all of these reasons and those stated in our letter, the application should be denied, or significant mitigation measures should be imposed, or changes should be required. If that can't happen, then the project should be denied. Thank you for your time and attention, and if there are any questions from the board, I'll take them. Otherwise, we'll rest on our papers.
Well, that was a good legal description of it all.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Would you want to respond to any of those?
We'll need to see the letter to prepare if the board requires a formal response, which we'll have no problem doing. Just a couple of things, though, I would point out. All uses proposed are conforming uses with the R3 zoning district. There's no dispute in that. A stormwater management facility is not a structure as defined by the town code as it relates to zoning and setback within the R3 district, going through the definitions. Stormwater management is also not a non-conforming use or a non-allowable use. Stormwater management is required by the Victor Town Code and by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. The Town of Victor Code has their drainage ordinance, which we are required to comply to. The Stormwater Management Plan has been prepared in compliance with the Town of Webster's drainage ordinance, the New York State DEC stormwater regulations, as confirmed by the town engineer based on their review of the submitted stormwater management design. So without reading it, any reference to the stormwater management plan needing to conform to setback or not being an allowable use are incorrect. And I think the town code is very clear on that. With regards to variances, as stated, there are no variances required. That's been vetted through the PRC and through this board. As it relates to the one setback that was identified, the 50-foot setback is provided to Route 250 as required, but the code also allows, per 350-12B 5A2, corner lots are allowed a 40-foot front setback. That's why we have a 40-foot front setback to the subdivision street, but the 50-foot setback to Route 250 trumps that, for lack of a better term. So those are just things off the top of my head. With regards to seeker, as we mentioned in the information we provided, going through the thresholds, you are able to see the thresholds established through the EAF workbooks established by DEC, that we do not exceed any of the thresholds that go into moderate to large potential impacts that are not mitigated through the design that's been provided. So I'll allow the board to decide what they want to do in reference to this information. If they request a written response from the applicant, we would do that for you.
Dorothy Fate, 742 Hightower Way. Our town's comprehensive plan is a document that citizens participated in developing and the town adopted, and as such should continue to be utilized as a guiding document for framing Webster's development. I would contend that many of the goals and directions put forth in that document continue to be relevant, and I ask the board to utilize it. Specifically, it recommends that the town planning and zoning boards use such tools as conservation easements and environmental protection overlay districts to protect Webster's natural resources. It also has code under residential subdivision, chapter 296, sections 15 and 16 that address concerns about development's impact on adjacent properties. As we move through the seeker process, I would assert that the EAF submitted to date is not adequate for this project to move forward. I would ask the board to review the EAF Part 1 as I dispute the developer's answers on this document. The developer failed to address Section C, Planning and Zoning, specifically Section C.2 Webster's Comprehensive Plan. Preservation of open space was not addressed. Our comprehensive plan included reference to an existing list of properties of value and interest. It was developed in 1973, included 600 parcels. The list was prioritized in 2003. It was recommended that it be updated periodically. This is a living document, and as such, it is an ongoing part of our comprehensive plan. The town has periodically revamped that list, and the current property was included on the updated parcel list of pieces of it, parcels of interest. EAF section E1, E.1.C. This property is currently utilized by members of the community as evidenced by the numerous unofficial trails throughout those 5 acres. Section E.2.H. Water bodies adjoin the property. Mill Creek flows close to the property, and according to BME Engineering Report of 513, page 6, the stormwater flow traveling to Mill Creek is documented. Section D.1.C indicates that the project should be 12 months. I believe that this form should include an estimate of the time before all sites are built out. This would mean a considerable amount of time of ongoing disturbance to citizens who use a birdsong trail and animals that use it as habitat. Secondly, as I review the updated site plan, it concerns me that the developer's tree census saves too few trees for preservation. Personal opinion. My question, also it appears that the area determined to be the roadway is marked to be filled to its point of highest elevation. And my question is, will the birdsong trail be lower than this proposed road?
Okay, Mrs. Spade, okay, we'd like you to do is 3 minutes, that's it. Take your document, and if you want to present it to the board, we'll put it in the file with the papers.
My other request, though, is that minutes be amended from, you accepted minutes, you approved minutes in which there was a document in those minutes that said that the board had already made a determination.
Okay, if you've got that on paperwork, just please leave it with the secretary.
But the minutes need to be amended because there is a seeker determination of non-determination
Okay.
in those minutes.
Okay, thanks. If you want to leave that with Catherine, you can leave it, she can put it in the file. Okay. All right, this project has been in here forever. In all my years here, I've never seen a project with just 8 houses take so damn long to get approved. This is a very simple operation. And I'm getting the picture that people just don't want it. That's the bottom line of this thing. I'm sorry to say, I don't want to be crass on this thing again, but that's what the bottom line of this is. People are just pissed off because there's houses going there. There's a couple of people in here that wrote letters. Their houses don't even have grass growing on them yet, and they're bitching about this project going in. You know that? Are you aware of that? Their lots are smaller than these lots are. And in all my years here, my 40-some years on this board, I have never seen such resistance to something like this. And if there's something to be opposed to, I'll be the first one to go into your team. And I see none of that here. None of it. This is bull. This applicant has gone through hoops every which way for 8 stinking houses. It's an approved site. You can tell me what you want about the code. You can tell me about anything you'd like to about this thing. But you know what? In reality, it meets everything that's in this town code. And this has been gone through. The attorneys have reviewed it. Whatever you want to do after this, God bless you. But I'm ready to just move forward with this thing. And that's it. If Derek is willing to do a seeker on this,
The board is not completed.
we're not talking anymore, okay? Please?
The board has not completed part 2 and 3.
Ma'am?
EAF.
All right, let me do it this way. I'm going to close the public hearing. Thank you. Enough is enough. Everybody has become an expert. We've got engineers, we've got attorneys, everybody looking into this. So this has been researched. We're doing no different than any project getting its full required view from everybody. And that's what this has been gone through. If you want to do I'm willing to move forward with it, but you have to do a seeker first.
What we'll do is that we did complete a coordinated review. We have a list, we contacted involved and interested agencies as required by seeker. We worked with all those agencies. None of them had any significant comments about this project. None of the involved or interested agencies provided comments to this board regarding the project that had any kind of impact on the decision. We also have before us a part 2 of the environmental assessment form, and we will go through this. As a board, we all have copies of the form that was completed, and I think it's worthwhile going through. Part number 1 in this addresses impacts on land. In this document, the part 2, it does follow step by step through the part 1 assessment form. This is just additional information that winds up being requested and filled out. The general response to the impact on land, which is proposed action, may involve construction on or physical alteration of land, the surface of the proposed site, so it's a construction of a subdivision, so obviously it does have impact on land. They are doing work on it. When you look at the items that are listed under Part 2, it discusses things about, where the land may be within 3 feet of the water table, if there's slopes greater than 15%, if there's any construction in bedrock or exposed areas. Proposed action may involve excavation or removal of more than 100 tons of natural material. Involves construction and continues for more than a year or in multiple phases. The proposed action may include erosion, which is physical disturbance of vegetation. So all of these items listed underneath number 1 on the Part 2 of the environmental assessment form, there is no or small impact may occur for this particular project. All the items on here are addressed by the normal required construction mitigation programs for stormwater runoff and generally accepted construction techniques. So there's no or small impact on those parcels. Unless anybody else on the board has an objection to that. Impact on geological features. There's no specific geological features on this parcel. So the answer to impact on geological features is no. So there's no impact on that. Impact on surface water. The proposed action may affect one or more wetlands or other surface water bodies. This includes streams, rivers, or ponds. So the overall answer to that is yes. But within the underlying items, is it going to create a new water body? No or small impact. And there's a dry stormwater detention pond, so it's not creating new water bodies. Is it going to decrease 10% or more or 10 acres increase and decrease the surface area of the water body? No. Is a proposed action going to involve dredging? There's no dredging on this project. Is a proposed action going to involve construction and joining freshwater tidal wetlands? No. Is a proposed action going to create turbidity and turbidity water? There are construction management practices that are put in place for all construction sites that helps prevent stormwater runoff from the site, so no. Proposed action may include construction of one or more intakes or withdrawal of water. It's not the type of project, so no. Proposed action may construct outfalls and discharges of wastewater to surface water. It doesn't have any wastewater discharges. We're tying into the public sewer system for the sanitary systems. May cause erosion. Again, that is covered by the routine practices of construction. Their stormwater management plans are put in place throughout the project and following the project for maintenance of the stormwater detention pond. So you got to affect the water quality, involve applications of pesticides or herbicides. Proposed action may require construction of new or expanding existing wastewater treatment facilities. The answer to all those items are no. So number 2, impacts on surface water, while the overall arcing thing is yes, everything underneath there is no or small impact on the parcel. Impact on groundwater. There's no impact on groundwater as defined under the items on Part 2 of the environmental assessment form. We're not installing wells, that type of process on the process. We don't put in wells for these. These are all tying into the Monroe County Water Authority. It's also tying into the town of Webster sanitary sewer system, so it doesn't have any impact on groundwater. Impact on flooding. The answer to that is no. The project's just not located in the 100 or 500-year floodplain. So there's no impact on flooding from the project. Impacts on air quality. The overarching answer on this is yes, but the underlying items are all no or small impact. These items tend to deal with federal air emissions requiring permits. That doesn't apply to this project. 10 tons or more a year designated hazardous air pollution, that doesn't apply to this project. Proposed action may require state registration for emission sources. That doesn't apply to this project either, it's all residential housing. The proposed action may reach 50% of any thresholds of items A through C, and it doesn't reach that threshold either, so no or small impact. The proposed action may result in a combination of thermal treatment or more than 1 ton of refuse per year, combustible thermal units, sorry. No, it's not, it doesn't generate thermal combustible units. The only emissions that may occur during the project is typical emissions associated with construction activities and vehicles. No different than driving your car up and down the road each day. So it's no to small impact on it. Item number 7 on the form deals with impacts on plants and animal. The overarching answer on that thing is no. Items underneath this thing they talk about loss of population for threatened or endangered species, reduction or degradation of habitat for any kind of rare or threatened species. Proposed action may cause reduction in population or loss of individuals, species of concern. Proposed action may result in reduction or degradation of habitat used by species of special concern. None of those types of species were identified associated with this parcel. So the overall answer on that is no. Item 8, the impact on the agricultural resources. Straight answer on that is no. It's not an agricultural property, it has not been used for agriculture, it's not in an agricultural district. So there's no impact on agricultural property. Impact on aesthetic resources. So the overall answer on number 9 is yes. Is it going to be visually from any officially designated federal, state, or local scenic or aesthetic areas? It's not officially designated as any of those areas, so no. The proposed action may result in obstruction, elimination, or significant screening of one or more officially designated scenic views. Again, there is no officially designated scenic view adjacent to this parcel. The proposed action may be visible from publicly accessible vantage points, seasonably screened by foliage or year-round. There isn't really a public accessible vantage points for this parcel. You have the trail going by, I see a response to that, but the overall impact is no or small impact. It doesn't have a significant impact on people walking through a trail that's 100 feet away from the buildings, or even from the lot itself. The proposed action may cause a diminishment of public enjoyment or appreciation of designated aesthetic resource. So that's no or small impact. Yes, it is adjacent to the Birdsong Trail, but the trail runs through the middle of the existing right-of-way, and it's not adjacent to the actual development. The right-of-way is, but the trail that's being used is not. There are similar projects visible within the following distances: half mile, mile and a half, 3/4 mile. So there are other developments along the Birdsong Trail that have the exact same viewing that you can see from the trail that this project would have. So it's no small impact on the project. So overall, while the impacts on aesthetic resources may be yes, when you look at the individual items underneath it, the real answer is no or small impact may occur. Impact on historic or archaeological resources. None of those items were identified in the area. There's nothing on the particular property that's associated with the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation. Nothing on the SHPO sites. So the overall answer on that is also no. Impact on open space and recreation. That's item number 11. So the overall answer to that is no. There is no impact on open space or recreation. This is an individual parcel that is in a residentially zoned area. Proposed action may result in impairment in natural functions of ecosystems, doesn't apply. Proposed action may result in current or future recreational resources not identified, doesn't apply. The proposed action may eliminate open space and recreation resources in an area with such few resources. We have multiple resources for open space within the town. The proposed action may result in a loss of area now used formally or by community as open space resources. This is private property adjacent to a public trail. It is not community or open resource. Impact on critical environmental areas. There are no identified critical environmental areas adjacent to the site, so the answer to that is no. Impact on transportation will result in an existing change in transportation systems. The answer to that is no. We have common feedback from the highway department. This is state highway. That didn't indicate that there was going to be an impact of 8 houses on traffic on Route 250. Impact on energy is a proposed action may cause an increase in use of energy, any form of energy. The overall answer to that is no. It's a small development of just 8 houses. It doesn't have an overall impact on energy use for the area. Impact on noise, odor, and light. Overall answer on that is yes. Underlying items, this may produce sounds above established noise levels. The items for that is no or small impact. The noise levels there would only be associated with during construction, and then once completed, just usual noises associated with residential use. Nothing beyond that. Is there any blasting? There's no blasting associated with this project. There's going to be proposed action may result in routine odors for more than one, no odors from the site. So, is it going to result in light shining into the neighboring properties? Creating sky glow brightness? The answer to those are no too. You have residential properties, may have lights on them. The expectation is that the houses, when they go up, that those buildings are in conformance with the town's lighting codes. There are no street lights in the project, no light spillage into adjacent areas. So overall, for item number 15, no or small impact on the property. Impact on human health, overall answer to that is no. Those items too, they primarily deal with proposed item number 16, the proposed action may have an impact on human health from exposure to new or existing sources of contaminants. The answer is no. There hasn't been anything identified on the property or adjacent to the property that would have that sort of an impact, so no. Consistency with community plans. So number 17, while the title is consistency with community plans, the underlying description is proposed action is not consistent with adopted land use plans. Overall answer to that is no. It is consistent with land use plans. It is in a R3 zone district. It's a residential project proposed in a residential district. So it's consistent with the land use plans for that particular parcel. Consistency with community character. Proposed action is number 18. The proposed action is inconsistent with the existing community character, and the overall answer to that is also no. This is a residential property adjacent to other residential properties, so it's consistent with the residential character of this particular area. So for all items 18 on this, there have not been any items that are identified as no, or all the items, I should say, have been identified as no or small impact that may occur on the property.
As one point of order, you had mentioned the coordinated review was completed. Did that include the zoning board of appeals?
All the involved in interested agencies.
Yes, the zoning board was not involved because there were no required variances associated with the plans.
Okay, so the zoning board was not involved, thank you.
That's right, because no variances were required.
So that's all of part two.
Okay.
I know the rest of the board has had a chance to review these things too, and if anyone has any questions or discussions, we can talk about it.
You gave the highlights of them all, but again, BME addressed everyone in detail in several pages here. Every one with these 18 items is addressed in detail.
I'd like to point out that while BME did go through and do a very thorough job of going through the individual items for part two, that the completion of this is based on our interpretation of the environmental assessment of the property, relying on information provided not only by BME, but also by the other involved agencies in the project that may have involved comments such as, the town of Webster Conservation Board that gave concept review comments for this regarding the project. And so the conclusions reached on the part two form are those of the conclusions of the board with reliance on information provided by others.
Yep, okay.
But not dictated by others. So that being said,
Yep.
One more point of order, I would just ask that the board not make a decision until all members have had a chance to review the complete record. And I observed that earlier this evening, the board members indicated they had not had an opportunity to review the complete record.
Yep, we've got the letter. You spoke. We heard what you had to say. I believe, my opinion, that what Derek just read entailed everything that was asked for by all your clients, your associates here, whoever. And I think with that, I'm prepared to move forward with this project. Simple as that. There's never been one that's been as lengthy with such a minimal impact on environment, the town, highways, anything. You want to pay? With that, I'd suggest we go ahead. We have prepared a determination for seeker. If you want to do it, Derek. I have to go with what we've got. I mean, I don't know what's in this letter. We can read it. We can read it later. And they can move forward with whatever plan they have. But in my opinion, this firm has covered everything between the attorneys and the engineers. And I am prepared to move forward with this project. Simple as that.
and so
Mr. Chairman, the New York State courts have said that when boards make a decision based on less than complete record, that's arbitrary and capricious as a matter of law. I would just ask your attorney to maybe take a look at that before you guys do anything that would end you up in hot water. No one wants that.
I would note that Mr. Zoglin, this is the first time I'm seeing a 20-page report. I don't know when it was actually received, if it was received.
It was not received by the town at all.
It was submitted yesterday.
The town was closed yesterday. I don't know how you submitted
There
it,
you go.
but
Submitted it via email, which is
To who?
To who? The town was closed.
via email.
well, I could tell you that I get those emails and I did not receive your letter. So I'll put that on the record. I did not receive a letter.
I'd be happy to send you a person copy.
I would love to see it.
Can we exchange emails after?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Archuleta.
Yep.
I would add that based on your presentation and what I have skimmed through this letter at this meeting, that our part two review of the entire project has addressed all of your concerns that you raised in that letter.
And I believe some of, the engineer clarified some of the setbacks you thought were in error. It is 40-foot setback on the corner, so he was right again.
If we take a look at the town code provision, it says that it's 50 foot for major highways now.
Right, and Route 250 is the major highway. Sage Forest Drive is a town road. It would not be considered
Correct.
And we do
a major highway.
Corner lots have 2 front yards.
We do have 50 feet off the state highway.
That's not all.
But the side road is not a major road.
No, but corner lots are considered to have 2 front yards, and so the
We understand.
front yard.
Regardless, I mean,
Yeah, I know, that let's.
Yeah, I don't think we
let's do
should
that.
get into debating interpretation of our code.
Mr. Vars,
I don't have anything to add. I'll look forward to proceed.
you sure? All right.
Yeah, the only thing I would say about, the fact of the matter is this board has taken a hard look at this application.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this evening represents our 5th or 6th public hearing before this board. We have received input from the public, input from involved and interested agencies, input from town staff, and the board itself. This plan has gone through several iterations of submissions of information back, responding to every comment that this board deemed necessary for us to respond to. So while on one hand we could say we've been here a year, the fact of the matter is that epitomizes the fact that this board has taken a hard look at all of the issues. All of the information has been provided to you in a timely fashion, and when not, this board has, delayed action or delayed meetings until you've had time. Coming here this evening is the culmination of all that effort and application. So that's all I would add.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Derek, why don't you go ahead and move forward if you're willing?
so I have a seeker determination of significance, a resolution. Whereas the Town of Webster Planning Board, herein referred to as the Planning Board, is considering a subdivision and site plan to develop a new public right-of-way and 610 plus or minus feet of roadway extension from Webster Road, New York State Route 250, and a proposed subdivision consisting of 8 single-family residential lots and 1 lot to be dedicated to the Town of Webster for the ownership and maintenance of a proposed stormwater management facility located on tax map number 065.180-1-027 in the Town of Webster, Monroe County, New York, and is described in the site plans dated May 14th, 2024, last revised October 22nd, 2024, and all other relevant information submitted as of tonight's meeting on November 12th, 2024, the current application. And whereas the Planning Board has determined that above action is a Type 1 action pursuant to Part 617 of the State's Environmental Quality Review Regulations and the New York State Department of Health requirements for realty subdivisions, and whereas the Planning Board determined that the action is to be subject to a coordinated review and approved by other involved agencies under seeker, and approval by other involved agencies under seeker, and whereas the Planning Board has been designated lead agency under the provisions of Part 617.63 and 4 of Article 8 of the State Environmental Conservation Law, and whereas the Planning Board has given consideration to the comments provided by the individual agencies and interested agencies at tonight's meeting and who have submitted documents prior to the meeting. And whereas the Planning Board has completed its review of Parts 2 and Part 3 of the full environmental assessment form, and whereas the Planning Board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance as set forth in Section 617.7C of seeker regulations and the information contained in Parts 1, 2, and 3 of the full environmental assessment form. Now therefore be it resolved that the Planning Board hereby accepts the findings contained in the parts 2 and 3 of the full environmental assessment forms and directs the planning board chairman to sign and date the full environmental assessment form part 3. Be it further resolved, based on the information analysis above, the supporting documentation referenced above, and for the reasons set forth in the attached notice of determination of non-significance, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts and will not require an environmental impact statement. Be it further resolved that the planning board does hereby make a determination of non-significance on the proposed development, and that the planning board chairman is hereby directed to sign the full environmental assessment form part 3 and issue a negative declaration as evidence of the planning board's determination. I also have attached to the resolution the list of determination of significance, notice of determination of non-significance. Traditionally, we just incorporate this by reference.
Good.
If that's acceptable, we'll do that instead of reading through the whole list again.
That's acceptable.
Okay, and so that's the resolution.
Okay, we have a motion for the determination for the significance of seeker. We need a second.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Roll call.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mrs. Mock?
Aye.
Okay, with that done, we have to do a motion for preliminary and a separate one for final. As Roger would always say, you had to do two. Yeah. So I will make a motion for a preliminary approval for the Birdsong at Conifer Cove subdivision, and we'll base that on, we do have some PRC comments, and I believe you did have those, and those were addressed. Make it subject to PRC comments. A letter of credit is posted with the town of Webster for the project. This is subject to any of the conservation board's minutes, were the review of it. Subject to Monroe County Water Authority. Subject to a determination of the zoning board for there were no variances requested, so we don't need that. Address any land to be conveyed to the town, which would be the drainage section in there. All improvements shall be constructed in accordance with the specifications of the town of Webster. All road work construction is to be in accordance with specifications and regulations set forth by the town of Webster. All site work is to be in compliance with the standards of the town of Webster. Preserve all the mature trees on the site where possible, and these were accomplished in their environmental impact statement, and shows on their drawings where the trees are being preserved. Let's see, you have to comply with all requirements of state, county, town agency. Applicant has addressed drainage, lighting, signage, landscaping, no signage. We haven't done anything with signage. Landscaping, buffering, burning, and snow storage. Okay, we've covered that well, for snow storage included. The landscape, hardscape site, accessories, and associated finished grade design for the development is prepared by a licensed landscape architect, and the final landscape plan shall bear the seal and signature of the landscape architect. And approvals are subject to drawing number, what is that drawing number, can you see it? Yeah, we've had so many of them. There it is right there.
2910-01.
2910. Okay. And this project is complied with all the town codes. One thing I would like to put in there is, in addition to it, is if there's a proposal to sell any lots to individual developers, that there's unity in the development. In other words, elevations are to be maintained, finished floor elevations, whatever that drawing shows, that's what it has to be. Somebody isn't going to just go down halfway and raise the house and that kind of thing. So I'd want to see that in your final drawings, a note. Okay? All right, I guess with that, I'd call that a preliminary approval. Need a second?
Second.
Martha?
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mrs. Malton?
Aye.
All right, for final approval, we've received all the paperwork, we've gone through everything on that subject. Make it subject again to the PRC comments. Make it subject to the Parks and Recreation fees, which would be determined by the town board. And make that subject to all preliminary approval conditions. And make it to all applicable governmental fees. And subject to Department of Public Works approvals. And significant construction shall occur within 1 year as deemed by the planning board to expire on, what is this, November 12th, 2025. The conditions of preliminary and final approval are depicted on the cover sheet of the approved drawings. Final design, the engineers for the proposed project shall provide a letter of certification that all proposed work was completed as per planning board resolution of final approval before a certificate of occupancy will be issued. And a letter of credit to the town for the project shall include the fee for the engineer's final inspection, certification inspection of the site. All stormwater facilities are to be constructed first, that's all your drainage, swales, and so on. All downspouts connected to the storm sewer, and make that subject to the resolution of the final approved minutes. And approvals are subject to the drawing number again, 2910. And subject to and that would be it. That's a resolution for final approval.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Mr. Kashani?
Aye.
Mr. Mixel?
Aye.
Mrs. Maltman?
Aye.
Mr. Kosel?
Aye.
Mr. Anderson?
Aye.
Mr. Giardina?
Aye.
Okay, with that, this project is closed. Thanks for coming in, and sorry for some that didn't work out the way everybody wanted, but we did what we have to do.